Thank you.
Okay. So, it's not good to just print output of a function in the function. It's good to return it, and then when you use return, you can reuse it for another operation or use it for another purpose. But when you just output it, you will not use it for any other purpose. So that's why I will introduce you to a concept called what? Return keyword. All right. And one thing about return, once you declare return, any code after the return will not what? Execute. Are we together? So now if you
Yes.
have so it's better we use in this function. Now let's make it, you can now if you do maybe answer +1 and you console.log. Now you see, we cannot use it because we're having it's not what? A number. But when you use return, sorry. So let's run it. You see, the answer is now what? 23. So you can actually get the computation from here and reuse it for another word purpose. Here we got it, and then we added 1 to the answer. Are we together? So any question?
Yes.
So it's good to be using return for in your word function. Don't just output it directly in your function. Use return and then assign the function call to a variable and then use the variable itself. From here now we can actually do, let's say we are not adding, we can actually just do like this. Are we clear? Any question?
No question.
Okay, so let's proceed. Now, if I may ask, why do we use function?
A set of code.
I can hear. I'll continue. Yeah, I want to hear your contribution now so that we can continue now. We don't have time, please. Let's make it active, please.
Chance to reuse the code. That's to reuse different arguments.
We call this one's argument, right? And the
Yes,
point of calling what you pass is what? Parameters.
that's
All right. So the number of argument must correspond with what? Number of what? Parameters. All right. And it's good to use return keyword so that you can reuse the output of that function in any other computation. All right.
yes.
So if the meeting ends, you can rejoin with the same with the former link, please. The link I sent. So Um, how did they used to calculate Fahrenheit? I think that time they will say is 5/7. 5/7, right? Times. Is it times, right? Then Fahrenheit value. Is it like this? I think this is the formula, right? So
Yes.
let's say we want to write a function that calculates this. Maybe function calculate what? Fahrenheit. So what are we passing into as argument to this is the F, right? Which is the Fahrenheit value, right? All together.
Yes, sir.
So you now,
So,
yeah,
I can unmute now, right, sir?
yes, you can.
Okay.
So the Fahrenheit will now return the Fahrenheit, which is the formula is 5/what? 7 times the value we pass in for Fahrenheit, right? F minus what? 32. So here now we'll now do let answer equals to what? We will now call this calculate Fahrenheit. What value are we passing for the Fahrenheit? Let's say what? 34, right? So let's print it console.log what? Answer.
Your answer is
So let's run it and see whether we are correct. You see, we have 1.42 this thing, right? So if you calculate this, the value you have, and then you can call it multiple what times. Maybe you want to pass in maybe 78. You see, you have 32 point what this. So if you use the manual computations, you still have the same word answer. So we have built a function to calculate what Fahrenheit, right? Are we together?
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let's move. Now before we continue, I will treat construct structure. What are construct structures?
Excuse me.
What are construct structures?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Um, I'm sorry, sir. Can you please explain for this function that we call calculate Fahrenheit elf, then they return 5 divided by 7. I used to throw more light there because that is where
You
I'm
know,
getting confused.
this is a formula to calculate Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, this we call this thing what? Parameters, right? F is parameter, right?
Yes, sir.
F is a short form for Fahrenheit.
Yes.
So anything you send here, this is what it will use to what? Minus 32 from. All right. So here now we are making it dynamic. Anytime you call this function, you can pass any value to it and it will calculate it. Now, and then return anything after return, it will not what? Execute. You see now this thing is blurry now. Do you see? It will not execute. So once you put return, that means that's the end of that word function execution. All right.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So once we execute a function, then we put return to end
The function execution.
before we come to call it down, right?
Yes. When you define the function, you call the function. This is where we are calling the function here. All right. And why we use return is so that we can use the result that we have gotten from this function. We can actually use it for another computation. Now, assuming, this is the value we got. We got 3.32.85 something, Abby. We can
Yes, sir.
actually add maybe 10 to this value. You see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But assuming you just use maybe console.log. You have a where this thing not I think not a number. You see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So you cannot, if you use console, you cannot use the result that you have computed for another computation. That's why it's good to use what? Return keyword in your function.
Okay, sir.
So let's move, let me move straight to
Console structures.
console structures. But before then, let's talk about comparison operator. What are comparison operators? Comparison operators are used in logical statements to determine equality or difference between what? Variables, right?
Yes.
Or values. For
Yes.
instance, we can say equal to equals to, equal to equal to, greater than or what? Equal to, less than or what? Equal to. Which one again?
Not equal to.
Not equal.
Not equal to.
Not equal to. We have greater than.
Identical.
Less than.
Identical.
Identical, that is equal to Nabi.
Yes.
And then we have not equal to. All right. So now we are going to be using these comparison operators with our what? Construct what? Structures. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So now let's move to first control. Now, control structures help us to what? Make what? Help us in what? Making what? Decisions. All together, help us in what? Making decisions. You go to some websites. Sorry, forgive me. I'm talking about conditional statements. Conditional statements are used to perform what? Different action based on what? Different what? Conditions. All right. Conditional statements are used to perform different action based on what? Different conditions. Now, very often when you write code, you want to perform different action for different what? Decisions. You can use conditional statement in your code. Okay, so we're saying conditional statements. Conditional statements are used to perform different actions based on what? Different conditions. And very often we use or we write we write code that we want it to perform different action for different what decisions. So we can use conditional statement in our code to do that. So in JavaScript, we have if statement, we have else if, and we have what? Switch. Now, first of all, we start with if. Now I will give the syntax. We say if. Now the condition that if the condition is true, the code to what? Execute to now what? Come here. All right. Okay, so now is the syntax clear? If then the condition and then the code to execute false here. Now let's say we want to say let age equals to what? 12. All right. I want to check if the age is greater than or 18. I want to check whether the person is what? An adult. All right. Function to what? Check age, right? Or pass age. Now we see if, it's age that we're checking, right? Is greater than.
Yes, sir.
Now we
Yes.
said greater than or equal to. All right. We now say greater than or what? Equal to what? 18, right? Return. All together.
Yes, sir.
So I hope we all understand where we are here. We said check age is a function. We pass age as a parameter, right? So we're using the parameter that we have passed here to say if age is greater than or equals to what? 18, return you are what? An adult. That's for if. So now let's call the function. The function is check age. What value are we going to pass in here? Let's put what? 17. Let results. We assign it to a value and then print that value, right? Okay. Now, sorry, let's put 18. Well, it is showing undefined because there's nothing specified in the word else part. If it's not true, something should do. So we're just doing this to illustrate what? If. So let's put 18 or 19. Let's pass in 19. The output will now be what? You are what?
An adult.
Adult. Now, let's use this example and move to the else. The else part is if the condition you are testing is not true. The else part should what? Execute. All right. So let's add else. The else here will be what? Return what? You are not and what? Adult, right? So let's enter 17 here. You are not what? An adult. All right. Let's change it to 20. What will now be the output? What will be the output?
You are an adult.
You are an
Yeah.
adult, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what if I said change it to 17.9?
You're not an adult.
You are not.
You are not an what? Adult. Is it clear?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So we say the if statement executes if the condition is what? True. This
True.
condition here is what? True. All right. Else, the else part execute if the condition is not what? True. Are we together?
Yeah.
Good. Now, let's continue. Now, we have treated what? Else, right? We have treated else. Now let's move to what? Else if. Let's get a date. Let's date time equals to new date dot to I want to just do a greeting. Let me just see that I'm getting what I'm the right track. Okay, good. Now, let's run this thing to test to greet a user if it's afternoon or what, evening or what, morning. All together.
Sir.
Good. So, now this is the value we are going to be using to check. So we'll say function what to what greet user. And we are passing in what current what date. So we'll now say if date time is what less than or equals to 12, right? I think is what good morning, right? Else if date time is it greater than or equal to what 12. And I hope we know what is an operator.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And date time is less than or equals to what? I think it's 3 that is afternoon stuff, Abby.
Yeah, 3 afternoon.
Which is 15.
Yes, sir.
So it's greater than equal to what? 15 and less than or equals to 17. So the else part now will now what come? Else is what? Good what? Night. So we'll call this greeting here. And then pass in this date time. Sorry. This was what we were supposed to be using to be comparing because that was the argument we passed.
So I'm using my console. Hope it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. So let's see. You see, it automatically pick our time and tell us what? Good night, right? You see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you run this thing tomorrow morning, you see that it will greet you good morning because it's getting the current time. That's GMT time. Because
Yes, sir.
when you console.log this, because you log into some website, you now see that they are telling you the current time. You'll now be wondering, how did they do that? It's not magic. They actually go into your system and get your system time. You see, this is the current time that we have here. All together.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So instead of using this else, can you use elif?
Elif,
Yes.
like E, then like this.
I before the F.
Spell it.
ELIF.
You know, this is in Python. This is else if in Python.
Okay.
It's still the same. It's just syntax that is different.
Okay.
All together.
Yes, sir.
Good. So I guess all of us were on our system. I'll give you a simple task.
Okay, sir.
Just a minute. Now write a code to grade student, a function to determine the grade of student. If the score is greater than or equal to 90, it should be 80, it should be A. If the score is greater than or equal to 80, it should be B. Are you hearing it?
Yes, sir.
If the score is greater than or equals to 70, it should be C. If the score is greater than or equals to 60, it should be D, else F.
Write a code to grade student.
A function to determine the grade of student. Now you are passing in the grade as a parameter to the function.
Sorry, condition.
Said if I'm posting it in the chat session.
Okay.
Okay.